Exposing her affair at church was me being petty. Taking half her business was revenge. But marrying that beautiful young woman with her money was simply what I deserved. My first life was a testament to quiet devotion. For 17 years, I was David, the supportive husband to the brilliant and charismatic Margaret, a woman who built a consulting empire from our spare bedroom. Our life was the church, our friends were the congregation, and our shared purpose was God. My rival, I see now, was never another man in the conventional sense, but the ambition that coiled inside my wife, an ambition I mistook for shared faith. It was an ambition that led her into the arms of Pastor Coleman, a man I called a friend. I died not in a blaze of glory or a tragic accident, but quietly, in the stillness of a Sunday afternoon, with the scent of old paper and betrayal in my hands. I died the moment I read the first of her love letters. And from that death, something new, something cold and calculating was born. I freeze mid-reach for Margaret's reading glasses. My fingers, instead of closing around the familiar plastic stems, brush against the crisp edge of folded paper tucked between the pages of Psalms. Her Bible lies open on the nightstand, a place of honor in our home, a symbol of the life we built. But this paper, it feels alien, wrong. I pull it free. The handwriting is not hers. It's a man's script, bold and slanted, full of a confidence I suddenly despise. "My dearest Margaret," it begins, and the air leaves my lungs in a painful rush. Last night changed everything between us. I saw the face of God in your eyes, and I just knew, this was meant to be. I can't stop thinking about you, about us. Coleman. Pastor Coleman. Our pastor, my friend, the man who counseled us, who ate at our dinner table, whose hand I shook every Sunday after service. The name hangs in the air, a thick, choking smoke. I feel a tremor start in my hands, a violent shudder that seems to originate from the very center of my being. My heart constricts, a brutal fist squeezing the life from it. 17 years of marriage, of shared prayers and quiet moments, of building a life brick by brick crumble into dust in the space of 30 seconds. My eyes scan the room, our room, and everything looks foreign. The family photos on the dresser, the quilt on our bed, the soft morning light filtering through the blinds. It all belongs to a different man, a different life, a life that ended the moment I read that name. I look back at the Bible, its pages filled with her notes, her underlines, her earnest search for piety. A wave of nausea rolls through me. How many more? My fingers, now clumsy with rage, fumble through the holy book. And there they are. More letters. One tucked in Proverbs, another in Isaiah, a third marking a passage in Corinthians about love being patient and kind. A bitter, barking laugh escapes my throat. Each page I touch, each folded confession I uncover, reeks of his cologne. That cloying, sanctimonious scent he wears like a second skin. They are a diary of their sin. A detailed account of stolen weekends, secret meetings, and holy love desecrated. "I count the hours until I can see you again," one reads. "The retreat feels like a lifetime away. Being with you, truly with you, will be heaven on earth." The church retreat. Last year. The same weekend she stood before a small group of our closest friends and, with tears in her eyes, renewed our vows. She'd said it was a spontaneous gesture, a reaffirmation of our sacred bond. I see it now for what it was, a performance. A lie to assuage her guilt, or perhaps a thrill to heighten the deception. The hypocrisy is a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me, leaving me gasping. I sink onto the edge of the bed, the letters spread out before me like evidence at a crime scene. And it is a crime scene. The death of my marriage. The murder of my trust. A cold, hard clarity begins to form in the chaos of my mind. Tonight is the annual Women's Ministry Gala. Margaret is the keynote speaker. 200 congregants, the entire church board, everyone who looks up to her, who sees her as the pillar of Christian womanhood, will be there. She's going to stand at that podium and preach about the sanctity of marriage. The irony is so thick, so grotesquely perfect, it's almost poetic. The digital clock on the nightstand glows with impartial cruelty. 1 p.m. Her speech is at 7. 6 hours. 6 hours until she delivers the performance of her life. But I'm the director now. With hands that still shake, not from shock anymore, but from a burgeoning, righteous fury, I take out my phone. I lay each letter flat on the bedspread, smoothing the creases, and I photograph every single word. The salutations, the breathless confessions, the damning signatures. I capture the evidence of their sacred affair, each image a nail in the coffin of the life we once shared. I connect my phone to my laptop, the clicks of the keyboard unnaturally loud in the silent room. I upload each photo, each damning pixel, to a small, sleek flash drive. A flash drive that will not just change our lives, but burn them to the ground. This isn't just about revealing the truth. This is about justice. And justice, like the Lord, works in mysterious and sometimes terrible ways. The rage is a furnace inside me now, burning away the shock and grief, leaving only a white-hot core of purpose. I don't hesitate. I don't second-guess. I walk with a steady, determined stride from our bedroom to her home office, the flash drive clutched in my palm like a weapon. The room is immaculate, a monument to her ambition. Awards line the shelves, books on leadership and theology are arranged in perfect order. Her laptop is open on the mahogany desk, her keynote presentation glowing on the screen. Sacred Vows, the Unbreakable Bond. The title mocks me. I sit in her leather chair, the one I bought her to celebrate her first 6-figure contract. My fingers fly across the keyboard, swift and merciless. I highlight the entire presentation, every slide filled with scripture and hollow platitudes about fidelity and trust. And with a single, satisfying click, I press delete. The screen goes blank. Years of her work, her carefully constructed persona, wiped away in an instant. But I'm not done. I open a new presentation file. The title slide is simple, stark. Sacred Vows, a Personal Testimony. Below it, in a smaller font, by Margaret and David Sterling. I begin to create the slides. The first is a photo of our wedding day. Me, young and unsuspecting, beaming with a love so pure it aches to look at it now. Her, radiant and beautiful, a vision in white. The second slide is the first letter. I format the image to fill the entire screen. Coleman's handwriting, a grotesque parody of a sacred text. The third slide is the second letter. The fourth, the third. Each one a testament to her betrayal, laid out in chronological order. I don't add commentary. I don't need to. The words speak for themselves, an unholy sermon of their own. I hear the garage door whirring open. She's home early. A jolt of adrenaline, cold and sharp, courses through me. Good. Let's not delay the inevitable. I save the new presentation to her desktop, naming it simply Keynote_Final. Then I plug the flash drive into the projector she keeps in her office for practice runs. The files load. Everything is ready. I lean back in her chair, a strange calm settling over me as I hear her footsteps approaching. The avenging angel, waiting in the sanctuary of his wife's lies. "David, you're home early," she calls out, her voice bright and cheerful. It's a sound that has always brought me comfort. Now it grates on me, a lie set to music. She appears in the doorway, a grocery bag in her arms, a perfect picture of domesticity. She smiles, but it falters when she sees my face. She knows something is wrong. Her eyes dart from my stony expression to the projector, to the laptop, her mind racing, connecting the dots. "What's going on?" she asks, her voice dropping to a cautious whisper. I don't get up. I just swivel the chair to face her fully, letting her see the full, unvarnished truth in my eyes. "I found your Love Nest correspondence, Margaret." The words are quiet, but they land with the force of a physical blow. I watch the color drain from her face, her carefully constructed composure shattering like glass. The grocery bag slips from her grasp, oranges and apples rolling across the polished hardwood floor, a sudden, absurd splash of color in the monochrome of our ruined life. What are you talking about?" she stammers. But there's no conviction in it. It's the desperate plea of the damned. "The letters, Margaret. The ones you so piously tucked away in your Bible," I say, my voice dripping with a scorn I didn't know I possessed. "From Coleman. It seems your study of the Holy Scriptures has been more hands-on than I realized." She leans against the doorframe for support, her hand flying to her mouth. Her eyes, wide with panic, dart around the room as if seeking an escape. But there is no escape. I have built the perfect cage, and the door is about to swing shut. "Tonight's going to be very educational," I continue, the calm in my voice unnerving even to me. "For you, for Coleman, and for the 200 souls who think you're a saint." I gesture to the laptop. "I took the liberty of updating your presentation, made it a bit more personal." Her gaze follows my gesture, and she sees the new title on the screen. "Sacred Vows, a Personal Testimony." A sob escapes her lips, a raw, wounded sound. It's the sound of a cornered animal. She understands, in that instant, the totality of her ruin. She sees the path I've laid out for her, a path that leads directly to a cliff's edge. "David, please," she whispers, tears now streaming down her face. "We can talk about this. Don't do this." "Talk?" I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "The time for talk is over, Margaret. The flash drive is loaded. The projector is tested. Your speech begins at 7 p.m. sharp." I stand up, walking past her, stepping over the scattered fruit without a glance. "I suggest you start thinking about what you're going to say when the first slide comes up. You're the expert on sacred vows, after all. You should have plenty to draw from." I leave her there, a crumpled, weeping mess in the doorway of her own office, the testament to her success, now the stage for her downfall. The affair, the letters confirm, started during last year's church retreat. I remember that weekend with sickening clarity. She called me from the hotel, her voice thick with emotion, telling me how much she loved me, how the sermons on commitment had moved her to tears. She wanted to renew our vows, right then and there, with our friends as witnesses. I thought it was the most romantic gesture of my life. Now I know the truth. She was looking at me, speaking words of love to me, while his scent still lingered on her skin. She wasn't moved by the sermons. She was moved by the sin. And tonight, everyone will know. The countdown has begun. The afternoon heat is suffocating, but I feel a distinct chill as I sit in my car across the street from Starbucks. It's her preferred spot for sermon prep, a place she calls her neutral ground. Through the large plate glass window, I watch her. She's rehearsing, her lips moving silently, her hands gesturing to an invisible audience. Even in her panic, the performer in her is strong. She's trying to find a way out, to spin a new narrative. But the story is already written, and I'm the only one who knows the ending. My phone buzzes. It's Sarah, my young, fiercely loyal secretary. "He's here," the text reads. "Just walked in. He looks agitated." Right on cue, Pastor Coleman slides into the booth opposite Margaret. He doesn't look like the calm, compassionate shepherd of our flock now. His face is pale, his movements jerky and anxious. Damage control mode has been activated. He leans forward, his voice a low, urgent whisper that I can't hear, but I can read the panic in his eyes, the tight set of his jaw. He grips her wrist, his knuckles white. It's not a lover's touch. It's the grip of a co-conspirator. I raise my phone, pretending to take a call, and switch to the camera. I zoom in, the image pixelated, but clear enough. Clear enough to see the desperation etched on their faces. They are trapped, and they know it. I start recording. This little scene might be a useful epilogue to my main presentation. Margaret pulls her wrist away, her own expression a mixture of anger and fear. I can almost hear their conversation, the words hanging in the air between them like poison. "You need to postpone tonight," Coleman is likely saying. "Call in sick, a family emergency, anything." "I can't, Coleman," I imagine her retorting, her voice sharp. "The entire board will be there. The keynote is the biggest event of the year. Not showing up is not an option. It would look too suspicious." "Then we're finished," he'd hiss back, the sweat beading on his brow. "He knows, Margaret. He knows everything." "We were finished the moment you got reckless with those letters," she'd snap, her carefully maintained composure finally cracking. "What were you thinking? Writing all that down? Hiding them in my Bible? It's like you wanted to get caught." He shrinks back at her words, a guilty child being scolded. He has no answer. His arrogance, his belief that their love was divinely sanctioned and therefore immune to discovery, has led them to this moment. They are architects of their own destruction, and I stop recording. I have what I need. But as I sit there, watching them argue, a new thought begins to form. A cold, unsettling suspicion. Their panic seems to go beyond the affair. It feels deeper, more primal. It's the fear of losing more than just their reputations. It's the fear of losing everything. My mind flashes back to the letters. The talk of weekend escapes. The retreat. I'd assumed they paid their own way. But Coleman's salary isn't extravagant, and Margaret, while successful, is always meticulous about our finances. The trips they described, boutique hotels, fine dining, they weren't cheap. Where did the money come from? The afternoon heat gives way to the evening chill, but the cold I feel is coming from within. I start my car and drive, not home, but to my office. Sarah is waiting for me, a box of files on her desk. She's been my secretary for 2 years. A quiet, observant young woman with an almost photographic memory and a fierce sense of loyalty that I've never quite understood. Until now. She sees the darkness in the church, the hypocrisy I was blind to. "I pulled the church financials from the last 2 years, like you asked," she says, her voice soft but firm. "The public reports and the internal expense documents Deacon Williams gave you access to for the budget committee." "Thank you, Sarah," I say, my voice hoarse. "You're a lifesaver." "I just want to see the right thing done," she replies, her eyes meeting mine. There's a quiet strength in her gaze that bolsters my own resolve. I spend the next hour hunched over the documents, a highlighter in my hand, the pieces of a puzzle I didn't even know existed clicking into place. And then I see it. A series of entries under Ministry Outreach and Retreat Expenses. The dates are what catch my eye. They correspond exactly with the dates of the letters, the dates of their secret getaways. A weekend in a luxury spa resort in Arizona. A 4-day planning session at a beachfront hotel in Florida. And the most audacious of all, a week-long missionary trip to Cabo, Mexico. The expenses are vaguely categorized: leadership training, spiritual development, vendor payments. But there are no receipts, no detailed invoices, just lump sum payments authorized by one person, Pastor Coleman. and co-signed on the church's corporate account by the head of the women's ministry, Margaret Sterling. They've been embezzling church funds, stealing from the collection plate, from the tithes of the faithful, from the building fund meant for a new youth center. They've been financing their affair with the congregation's money. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of it leaves me speechless. It's not just adultery. It's a crime. I look at the total. Over the past 18 months, they've funneled away more than $47,000. $47,000 of stolen grace. The affair is the sin, but the money is the proof. It's the tangible, quantifiable evidence of their corruption. It transforms their betrayal from a private marital issue into a public crime against the entire church. My plan, I realize, has just become infinitely more powerful. I'm not just exposing a cheater, I'm exposing a pair of thieves hiding behind a veneer of piety. The slideshow is no longer just about love letters. It's about to get a whole new section on creative accounting. I print the bank statements, the highlighted entries glowing like neon signs of their guilt. The clock is ticking, but for the first time, I feel like I have all the time in the world. They think they're in damage control. They have no idea the storm that's about to break. The church parking lot is starting to fill up. Minivans and sedans pull into their designated spots, their occupants dressed in their Sunday best on a Saturday evening. The air is filled with a sense of cheerful anticipation, the low hum of fellowship and community. It feels like a scene from another life, a life I was a part of just this morning. Now, I feel like a ghost, an observer from another realm, watching a play whose tragic ending only I can foresee. The clock on my dashboard reads 5:45 p.m., 1 hour and 15 minutes until showtime. A sudden movement near the side entrance of the church catches my eye. It's Coleman. He's moving with a frantic, furtive energy, casting nervous glances over his shoulder. He's not dressed in his usual pastoral robes, but in a dark suit that makes him look like an undertaker. He pulls a set of keys from his pocket and tries the lock on the door to the AV booth. The key doesn't turn. He jiggles it, his frustration mounting. He tries another key and then another. None of them work. A slow, cold smile spreads across my face. He's trying to get to the projector. He's hoping to delete my presentation and swap it with a backup of Margaret's original, vapid speech. It's a desperate, last-ditch effort, and it's utterly futile. I changed the locks on the AV booth this afternoon. An emergency security upgrade, I'd told the church administrator. There had been some concerns about unauthorized access. The administrator, a kindly older woman who adores Margaret, hadn't questioned it. I also changed the passwords on the computer. The old password was Faith 123. The new one is Judgment Day. Poetic, I think. Coleman gives up on the door, slamming his hand against it in a fit of impotent rage. He spins around, his eyes scanning the parking lot, and for a heart-stopping moment his gaze locks with mine. Even from this distance, I can see the recognition, the hatred, and the raw fear in his eyes. He knows I'm behind this. He knows he's been outmaneuvered at every turn. He takes a step toward my car, a confrontational glint in his eye. But then a group of congregants calls out his name, their faces wreathed in beatific smiles. "Pastor, so good to see you!" He's forced to stop, to compose himself, to don the mask of the benevolent shepherd. He turns, his face a painful contortion of a smile, and shakes their hands, exchanges pleasantries, every movement stiff and unnatural. He is a man performing his own eulogy. I watch him for another minute before my attention is drawn to a more familiar vehicle pulling into the lot. Margaret's sleek, black Lexus. She parks in her reserved spot near the main entrance, a small perk for the head of the women's ministry. She sits in the car for a long moment, gathering herself. when she finally emerges, she is the image of grace and confidence. She's wearing a cream-colored suit, her hair perfectly coiffed, her makeup flawless. She looks every bit the successful, pious woman she pretends to be. But I can see the cracks in the facade, the slight tremor in her hand as she smooths her jacket, the way her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes. Her gaze sweeps across the parking lot, a queen surveying her domain. And then she sees me. She stops dead in her tracks, her confident mask slipping, revealing the raw panic beneath. For the first time in years, she looks at me not with affection or condescension, but with something akin to fear. She sees me not as her husband, the quiet, supportive man in the background, but as her adversary, her executioner. She takes a hesitant step towards me, her mouth opening as if to say something, to plead, to threaten. But what is there left to say? We are no longer husband and wife. We are two generals on a battlefield of our own making, and the final decisive battle is about to begin. I don't move. I just sit here in the deepening twilight and hold her gaze. I let her see the implacable resolve in my eyes. I want her to understand that there is no negotiation. There is no surrender. There is only the inevitable, crushing weight of the truth. In 3 hours, she will click next slide and detonate the bomb I have so carefully constructed. She will destroy herself in front of everyone who matters, in front of the world she so carefully built. A car horn blares, breaking the spell. One of the deacons is waving at her, gesturing for her to come inside. She tears her gaze away from mine, takes a deep, shuddering breath, and squares her shoulders. The mask is back in place. She gives the deacon a brilliant, false smile and walks towards the church entrance, her steps measured and confident. But I saw it. I saw the terror. And it is a beautiful, terrible thing to behold. The reversal is complete. I am no longer the victim. I am the one in control. And the show is about to begin. The sanctuary awaits. The minutes are ticking away, each one a hammer blow counting down to the final act. The church lobby is buzzing with energy, a sea of familiar faces and polite smiles. I move through the crowd, an invisible man, my heart a cold, steady drum in my chest. 20 minutes before showtime. It's time to lay the groundwork for the main event. I spot Deacon Williams near the entrance to the sanctuary. He's a good man, a retired accountant with a sharp mind and an unwavering moral compass. He's the head of the finance committee, the man who trusts Margaret and Coleman implicitly. He greets me with a warm, friendly handshake, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "David, good to see you. Ready for the big night? Margaret must be thrilled. We're all so proud of her." "She's certainly put a lot of work into it," I reply, my voice even, betraying none of the turmoil inside me. I hand him a manila envelope. "Actually, Deacon, I was hoping you could look at something for me before the presentation begins. Some discrepancies I found in the latest expense reports. It's troubling?" His smile falters, replaced by a look of concern. He takes the envelope, his brow furrowed. "Discrepancies? What kind of discrepancies?" "Just open it," I say quietly. "I think you'll see." He steps aside, away from the flow of traffic, and opens the clasp. He pulls out the bank statements, the ones I highlighted in my office. I watch his face as he reads, his eyes moving from the dates to the amounts, his accountant's mind instantly processing the information. I see the moment of recognition, the dawning horror. He looks up at me, his face ashen. "David, what is this?" he whispers, his voice barely audible above the din of the lobby. "It's evidence, Deacon," I say, my voice low and firm. "Evidence that my wife and Pastor Coleman have been stealing from the building fund. They've been using church money to finance their getaways. These dates, he murmurs, his finger tracing a line item for a leadership retreat in Florida. This is when they went to Cabo. They told everyone it was a mission trip. Exactly, I say, the word landing with quiet finality. There was no mission trip. There was no leadership retreat. There was just them, and the church paid for it all. $47,000, Deacon, stolen from the people in this room. Deacon Williams looks from the papers to me, and then his gaze drifts towards the sanctuary doors, where Margaret is now greeting members of the board, laughing and shaking hands. He sees it all now. The lies, the deception, the breathtaking scale of their betrayal. The trust he placed in them, the faith he had in their leadership is shattering before my eyes. I don't know what to say, he stammers, looking utterly bereft. You don't have to say anything, I tell him. Just watch the presentation, it will all become clear. I place a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry you had to see this, Deacon, but the congregation deserves to know who they've been putting their faith in. He nods slowly, his eyes hard with a new, cold anger. He slides the papers back into the envelope and tucks it under his arm. He is my ally now, the first of many. I leave him to his thoughts and find a seat in the back of the sanctuary, a lone shadow in the growing crowd. The room is almost full now, a palpable sense of excitement in the air. They are all here to witness the triumph of Margaret Sterling. They have no idea they are about to witness her execution. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a new email. The subject line is a single word: ultrasound. It's from Sarah. She must have dug deeper, followed a hunch. My hand trembles as I open it. The email is brief. Found this in the deleted files on the church's cloud server. It was sent from Margaret's personal email to Coleman's 3 weeks ago. I'm so sorry, David. I click on the attachment. An ultrasound photo loads onto my screen, a grainy black and white image of a tiny, developing life. And at the top of the page, the patient's name, Margaret Sterling. Estimated due date, 6 months from now. 6 months. I do the math. The conception would have been around the time of their mission trip to Cabo. The final piece of the puzzle slots into place, and it is the most devastating one of all. It's not just about the affair. It's not just about the money. Margaret is pregnant, and the child is not mine. It's Coleman's. I look at the last letter I photographed, the one I hadn't fully understood. Our little secret is a miracle, Coleman had written. A sign from God that our love is blessed. We will be a family, a true, holy family. I had thought he was being metaphorical. I see now he was being literal. A wave of something dark and ancient washes over me. It's a feeling beyond rage, beyond grief. It is the cold, absolute certainty of a man who has lost everything. The woman I loved, the life I built, the future I imagined. It was all a lie, a carefully constructed illusion. And now, the illusion is about to be burned away, leaving only the scorched earth of the truth. The lights in the sanctuary begin to dim. A hush falls over the crowd. On stage, a woman walks to the podium to introduce the keynote speaker. My heart is beating a slow, steady rhythm. I look towards the side of the stage, where Margaret is waiting. She takes a deep breath, a small, confident smile on her face. She is ready for her moment in the spotlight. She has no idea that half the board, thanks to Deacon Williams, already knows about the money. And she has no idea that I hold the final, most damning secret of all. She thinks she can control the narrative. She is about to learn that the truth, like a flood, cannot be contained. It will wash everything away. The introduction is glowing. A litany of Margaret's accomplishments, her dedication, her unwavering faith. The applause is thunderous as she walks to the podium, a vision of elegance and piety. She places her notes on the lectern, adjusts the microphone, and beams out at the sea of adoring faces. Her eyes meet mine for a fleeting second, a flicker of defiance in their depths. She thinks she can still win. She thinks her charisma, her carefully honed persona, will carry her through. She is wrong. "Thank you," she begins, her voice smooth as velvet, filling every corner of the vast sanctuary. "It is such an honor to be here tonight, to speak to you all about a topic so near and dear to my heart, the sacred covenant of marriage." A murmur of approval ripples through the crowd. She has them in the palm of her hand. In a world that so often seeks to diminish the sanctity of this holy bond, she continues, her voice rising with practiced passion, we, as people of faith, are called to be a shining example, a testament to the power of love, commitment, and above all, fidelity. She smiles, a picture of sincerity, and presses the button to advance to the next slide. Let's begin with the foundation of any strong marriage: honesty. The screen behind her flickers, but instead of a Bible verse or a theological point, a high-resolution image of our wedding photo appears. The crowd makes a soft, appreciative sound. Aw. "This was the happiest day of my life," Margaret says, her voice catching slightly. "The day I pledged my life and my love to my wonderful husband, David." She gestures towards me in the back. A few heads turn. I do not smile. "But a vow is not a single moment," she says, her tone becoming more serious. "It is a daily choice, a daily commitment to honor and cherish one another." She clicks the button again. "And that commitment is tested, but it is in those tests that our faith and our love are truly forged." The wedding photo vanishes. It is replaced by the first love letter. The words, "My dearest Margaret," are projected in 72-point font across the sanctuary wall. Coleman's handwriting as large and undeniable as a commandment carved in stone. A collective gasp sucks the air from the room. A confused, shocked murmur spreads like wildfire. Margaret's smile freezes on her face. She stares at the screen, her mind refusing to process what her eyes are seeing. She fumbles with the clicker, pressing the button again and again, but the slide doesn't change. I have disabled the manual override from my phone. I can explain," she stammers. Her voice no longer smooth, but a high-pitched, reedy sound of pure panic. She turns to the audience, her eyes wide and frantic, searching for an ally, an escape. But all she finds are 200 pairs of eyes staring at her, their adoration curdling into confusion and suspicion. I stand up. My voice, when I speak, is not loud, but it cuts through the shocked silence with chilling clarity. "Please do, Margaret." All eyes swivel to me. "Explain sacred marriage to these 200 people. Explain it to your board members. Explain it to Deacon Williams, who I believe has some questions about your use of the church building fund." At the mention of his name, Deacon Williams, sitting in the front row, stands up, the manila envelope in his hand. He holds it up for the other board members to see. The silent gesture is more damning than any accusation. "David, you don't understand," Margaret pleads, her voice breaking, her desperation palpable. She is no longer speaking to the crowd, but only to me. "Oh, I understand," I say, taking a slow, deliberate step into the aisle. "I understand you had an affair with our pastor, the man who was supposed to be our spiritual guide. I understand you financed your secret weekends with money stolen from the congregation." I take another step. The sanctuary is utterly silent now, the only sound the ragged edge of Margaret's breathing. "And I understand," I say, my voice dropping to a low, intense whisper that seems to reach every ear, "that you are carrying Pastor Coleman's child while you stand on this holy stage and preach to us about fidelity." A wave of shocked, horrified gasps erupts. Phones emerge, their screens glowing in the dim light, capturing her humiliation in real time. The social media execution has begun. "That's not... How could you..." she whispers, her face a mask of disbelief and utter devastation. All the fight goes out of her. She has been so thoroughly, so completely exposed, there is nothing left to defend. "The same way you could hide his letters in the Bible you read from every Sunday," I say, my voice cold and devoid of any emotion but a terrible final finality. "The same way you could lie to me, to this church, to God." It's the final blow. Her legs give out from under her. She collapses at the podium, a heap of cream-colored fabric and shattered dreams, her sobs echoing through the sound system, a raw animal sound of pure despair. Pastor Coleman, who had been hiding in the wings, makes a move as if to run to her, but two of the other deacons, their faces grim, step in front of him, blocking his path. His public life is over. I walk down the aisle, my steps steady, my purpose clear. I walk past the rows of stunned faces, their whispers and shocked murmurs a distant buzz. I walk onto the stage, past my weeping, broken wife, and I place a set of papers on the pulpit, directly on top of her useless notes. Divorce papers, signed and notarized. I'm demanding half of her consulting business, the business I supported, the business that was built on the foundation of our life together. And I'm demanding full custody of our shared assets, citing moral and financial fraud. I look down at her one last time. Her face is buried in her hands, her body shaking with uncontrollable sobs. There is no pity in me. There is no love left. There is only the cold, empty space where those things used to be. I turn and walk away, leaving her to the judgment of the crowd, to the harsh glare of the lights, to the viral infamy that will now be her only legacy. The show is over. The sacred vows have been broken. And I, David Sterling, the betrayed husband, have had the final word. I don't wait for the chaos to subside. I walk out of the sanctuary, through the stunned and whispering lobby, and into the cool night air. I'm almost at my car when I hear her voice, raw and ragged, call my name. I stop, but I don't turn around. "David, wait!" She stumbles out of the church doors, her perfect suit now disheveled, her face streaked with mascara. Two of her friends from the ministry are with her, holding her up, their expressions a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. She shakes them off and staggers towards me. "How could you?" she sobs, her voice thick with a self-pity so profound it's almost impressive. "How could you do this to me? To us?" I finally turn to face her, the last embers of our 17 years together dying in my eyes. "Us? There is no us, Margaret. There hasn't been for a very long time. You made sure of that." "It was a mistake," she cries. "Coleman, he manipulated me. I was lost." "You were not lost," I say, my voice as cold and hard as stone. "You were greedy. You were arrogant. You used this church, these people, and me to get what you wanted. And now you're pregnant with his child. A child you were going to pass off as mine." Her face crumples at the mention of the baby, the final, undeniable proof of her betrayal. "You destroyed our life," she whispers, the accusation weak, pathetic. "You destroyed everything." I take a step closer, my voice dropping to a venomous whisper that is for her alone. "You destroyed our life for a pregnancy that isn't even mine. You stood on that stage, a testament to your own hypocrisy, ready to preach about sacred vows while carrying the child of another man. You didn't just make a mistake, Margaret. You committed sacrilege. You defiled everything we ever held sacred. What I did tonight? That wasn't destruction. That was a cleansing, a purification by fire. And you, my dear, were the sacrifice." She has no reply. She just stares at me, her mouth agape, finally understanding the depth of the chasm that has opened between us. There is no remorse in my eyes, no flicker of the man she once knew. That man is gone. I killed him this afternoon when I read those letters. I turn my back on her for the last time and get into my car. As I drive away, I see her in my rearview mirror, a solitary, broken figure collapsing onto the asphalt of the church parking lot. The life of Margaret Sterling, the respected consultant, the pious Christian leader, is over. 6 months later, the Tuscan sun is warm on my face. The scent of cypress and lemon hangs in the air. Across the small cafe table, Sarah smiles at me, her eyes bright and full of a genuine affection I had forgotten could exist. She raises her glass of Chianti. "To new beginnings," she says. "To new beginnings," I echo, clinking my glass against hers. We are on our honeymoon, a trip financed by a rather large settlement from a woman who was desperate to avoid a protracted legal battle that would have aired even more of her dirty laundry. Margaret lost everything. Her business crumbled as clients fled, her reputation shattered beyond repair. The church, after a painful and public schism, excommunicated her. The last I heard, she was living with her mother in another state, the baby born quietly, without fanfare. Pastor Coleman lost his ordination and is facing fraud charges. Deacon Williams made sure of that. The $47,000 was just the tip of the iceberg. It turns out our good pastor had a gambling problem and a taste for luxury that his salary could never support. I look at Sarah, this quiet, loyal woman who saw the truth long before I did, who stood by me not out of pity, but out of a shared sense of justice. In the wreckage of my first life, I found a second one, a better one. A life built not on performance and piety, but on honesty and a quiet, simple love. My phone buzzes with a news alert, a gossip website still feasting on the scraps of the scandal. The headline reads, "Disgraced ministry leader Margaret Sterling. Where is she now?" There's a grainy photo of her, barely recognizable, pushing a stroller. I delete the notification without reading the article. Her story is over. Mine is just beginning. I take Sarah's hand, lacing my fingers through hers. Some betrayals are so profound, so complete. They demand more than a quiet divorce. They demand a reckoning. They deserve an audience. And I, the wronged husband, was more than happy to give them one.